Hi everyone, welcome to the first video by the Deep Sea Academy. I'm Jin and today I'll be teaching you guys how to do rigging on a hand. So firstly, I've provided you guys with an FBX, which is a model of a hand uh, on the Notion page. You can drag in the FBX and then you'll see that it appears in your Maya scene, and this is a hand. So all we're going to do and what we're going to learn today is about using skeletons, joints. If you want to access the skeleton window, you have to change your layout to be using rigging. By default, Maya sets your window to be in modeling, which skeleton is not accessible. So you have to change to rigging to be able to access skeleton. So how you begin is first you go to skeletons on your Windows tab, and then you go create joints and select this empty box. This allows you to see the options that you have when creating joints. This allows more different controls that you're able to use so that you can change and alter the attributes of your joints. But today we won't be touching this, so we're only going to be creating joints normally. Why we're doing this is because I want to show you how the default joints appear in the scene. So if you're in this perspective scene, as you can see down here, perspective, you're able to move around the scene and you're able to see your hand in 3D perspective. There are multiple panels that show you different perspectives. If you go to panels in your Windows and check orthographic, you can see that there's front, side, top. To view all of these things, I usually like to do is go to layouts and go to 4 panes. This shows you 4 different panes that show you different perspectives of your hand. So you can see down here is perspective, which is what we were in just now. And you have your side, as well as top and front. So you have all these 4 panels. You can choose any of the 1 panels and press spacebar to view it. When you press spacebar while your mouse is hovering over this, look at me. I'm currently hovering over side. As I press spacebar, I enter the panel that I want to go in. When I want to exit this panel and go back to the 4 panes to select my panels, I do not have to go to panels and go to layout and click 4 panes again. A shortcut tool for this is that you hit spacebar and it brings you back to the 4 panes which you set up earlier. Currently we want to use the top because we want to have the most flat surface area where we can add our joints into them. So when you press spacebar as my mouse is hovering over this, we go into the scene. So when we want to create joints, clicking on the skeleton window, you'll be able to access create joints. Use your left mouse button and click create joints, and you'll see that when you hover over into your panel, you see that the cursor has changed into a target. This tells you that you are currently in create joints mode. So when you press your left mouse button down, you see that it creates a joint. Currently, we can't see the joint because of the hand that is blocking it. So what you want to do is you go up to shading and then you click X-ray joints. This allows your bones, your joints to be seen through, which is much more easier for you to know where you're placing your joints. So currently what we want to create is a joint connection from the end of the forearm onto the wrist. So I will now place another joint at the wrist position. You can see that when you click onto the wrist, it creates a hierarchy from the forearm to the wrist. And it shows the connection between these 2 joints using this triangular form. If you go to your perspective view, you can see that it's actually a 3D kind of pyramid which connects to this joint. What this means is that this forearm joint is currently controlling this wrist joint. How it shows you is that it goes from the big part to the small part. So we'll go back to the top so we can continue placing our joints. So at the moment, this is all you need to know if you want to place a joint and then have it connect to another joint. And now we face another problem is how do I know when I want to end my placing joints? Because currently it's creating a lot of different joints, whereas I want it to stop at the wrist. So I'll undo these moves, Control Z, and at this point I want it to end here, so I'll press Enter. This allows the joint to be formed from joint 1 to joint 2, which is the forearm to the wrist. We can name our joints by double clicking, and I'll name this because this is the left hand. I'll put L forearm joint, and this will be L wrist joint. So with this, you can see when I select my joint and press E for rotation, I can control the wrist joint using this forearm joint. And if you go back to perspective, you can see that it's actually not in the hand, which is where we want our joints to be. It's like a human anatomy where your joints are inside your skin. That makes sense. So if you press W, it accesses the translation, which you are able to move it up to inside the joints. So in this view, you can see that we don't have the X-ray joints. So I will go to shading and X-ray joints again, and we'll be able to see it. So usually people want to create the finger joints, but I will show you how this joint can be applied onto this hand without showing you the finger joints yet. So by selecting the joint, clicking once with your left mouse button, holding Shift and clicking the geometry, I'm able to select what my joints are going to control. Currently, they're not connected at all. So you can see that when I move my joints, it is not moving the geometry. So as I said before, click on this left mouse button, Shift and left mouse button click again on the geometry. And you can go up to skin and bind skin. The colors of the joints will change, which indicates that it is binded to the geometry. I can show you through pressing E, and this is rotation, and it controls the geometry. You can actually, if you don't want your joints to control this geometry anymore, and I want it to control all of these together, I actually can do that. So if you click on your joints again, and click on your mesh, you do skin, unbind skin. This allows your joint to be separate from the geometry, which allows it to be binded to another thing. It now does not control anything. So if I want my joints, even though it is currently not inside of this palm or these fingers, you can actually select the joints and select every single one of these geometry and hit skin, bind skin. And it'll be able to control everything.